Oh, Vijay is on the screen now.
I'm
Vijay,
here. I'm here. I'm here.
Vijay, thank you very much once again for sponsoring this lecture.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So now, Ramesh, good morning.
Guruji, good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Good to see you on dot.
Good morning, Dr. Mashelkar.
Good morning. Good morning, Vijay.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I'm dressed casually because it's 1 o'clock in the morning here. So,
Oh, that's okay.
So we start now? Yes. So we will start now.
Dear dignitaries, we are going to start with the Professor Sharma National Technology Day lecture. Distinguished guests, respected fellows of the Academy, eminent scientists, ladies and gentlemen joining online and present with us offline at INSA. A very warm and pleasant good morning to all of you. I, Ananya Banerjee, welcome you all to Professor Sharma National Technology Day Lecture 2026 being organized by the Indian National Science Academy. Today's lecture is especially significant as it brings together two towering personalities of Indian science, Professor Sharma and Professor R.A. Mashelkar, whose contributions to science, engineering, innovation, and national development have left an indelible mark globally. We are also truly grateful for the presence of Professor G.D. Yadav sir and Professor Shekhar Mande sir. National Technology Day is an occasion that reminds us of the transformative power of science, technology, and innovation in shaping the future of our nation in the roadmap of Viksit Bharat 2047. We are honored to host the lecture on the theme More from Less for More Innovations Holy Grail, to be delivered by Professor R.A. Mashelkar, former President INSA and former Director General of CSIR. To formally commence today's program, it is my profound privilege to invite Professor Shekhar Mande sir, President Indian National Science Academy, to deliver the opening address.
Good morning, everyone. Greetings of the National Technology Day to all of you from the Indian National Science Academy. As all of you are aware, in 1998, three very significant events that took place. One of them, of course, was what we call as Buddha smiling or Pokhran 2. The other was the Trishul missile that was successfully launched by DRDO. And the third one was the maiden flight of Hansa, where Dr. Mashelkar himself was being witness to that maiden flight in NL on that particular day. And to celebrate this day, therefore, the country decided to celebrate every year, 11th May, as the National Technology Day. And then Prime Minister also coined the slogan, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Jai Vigyan. And that's a reflection of the fact that how much society believes or reveres our science and technology. A few months ago, at the Indian National Science Academy, it was suggested that we should institute a lecture to celebrate National Technology Day, essentially how the science can be applied for the benefit of society and how it can be applied to scale up all the discoveries that happen in our lab and implemented for the larger benefit of the world. And Professor G.D. Yadav suggested that we name the lecture with Professor M.M. Sharma, which of course nobody would disagree, has been the father figure of Indian engineering sciences post-independent. And therefore there was no two opinions about it. Professor Yadav also suggested that the inaugural lecture be given by none other than Dr. Mashelkar, and once again, Dr. Mashelkar is credited amongst many different things for very vigorously pursuing technologies and their benefit for the larger society. So there were no two opinions about both these facts, and it's a great privilege that we have both Professor Sharma and Dr. Mashelkar present here, gloriously present on our screens here, and we are celebrating the National Technology Day in the presence of these two luminaries of Indian science. Immense thanks to both of you, sir, Professor Sharma, Professor Mashelkar. Great thanks to both of you to have agreed for this particular proposal that Professor Yadav made. We are also grateful to Mr. Vijay Samant, who agreed to generously support this particular event of the celebration of India's science and technology. So that's all we are actually going to do. This is the inaugural lecture, and every year we'll have some iconic figure who would be giving talk on 11th May to celebrate the Technology Day. Today, we are also releasing a draft paper on the energy resilience. As all of you know, that the current geopolitical situation is such that we realize that India's energy demands probably need to be looked into, and how we are actually going to get energy from different sources, how we are going to tap, and how we are going to coordinate multiple agencies so that India becomes energy resilient. And it's only a working paper, the work is in progress, but nonetheless, we thought that we will take the opportunity of the two luminaries who are present here, and in their presence, we will release the working paper, Professor Sharma and Dr. Mashelkar. So I would hand back to Ananya, and whenever the time is appropriate, we'll request both of them to release this particular working paper. Ananya, back to you. And thanks all of you to join once again.
Thank you so much, sir, for your inspiring opening address and also for reminding us of the slogan Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Jai Vigyan. Thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move forward with the release of the much-awaited policy brief on a unified national energy policy framework for India, adequacy, access, affordability, and appropriate sustainability, prepared by the INSA, Center for Science, Technology and Innovation Policy. The policy brief has been developed through extensive consultations with eminent experts in the field of energy, along with fellows of Indian National Science Academy, incorporating multidisciplinary perspectives to strengthen India's pathways towards energy adequacy, universal access, affordability, and sustainable development. Energy security and sustainability remain central to India's developmental aspirations, and this policy brief represents an important contribution towards informed national dialogue and strategic planning. May I now request the distinguished dignitaries present offline, Professor G.D. Yadav sir, Professor M.M. Sharma and Dr. R.A. Mashelkar joining us online along with Professor Shekhar Mande sir to kindly release the policy brief. Sir, please.
I have great pleasure in releasing this document, about which I'll make some remark later.
Yes. And I join my Guruji, Professor Sharma, in showing my appreciation and joy at INSA's wonderful initiative on releasing this very, very important document very timely. Thank you.
May I make some very brief comment on this, because I'm not able to go through the report because it just came, but it occurred to me that I should flag some 4 important points. One is all our LNG terminals are not making use of refrigeration. We are going to go for 60 million tons of LNG, which means about 5.5 million tons of LNG equivalent is being wasted. I think urgent steps should be taken to this. 2, very high emphasis should be given for underground coal gasification, with which I had association. 60 billion tons of unminable coal is there in my Mehsana. On and off, some work is undertaken and abandoned. And natural gas hydrates deposits are very extensive around the Indian coast, and we need to make sure that much more effort is put in harvesting natural gas hydrate, which can change the energy scene of India. This, from the table of contents, I'm very impressed with the book, the document that has been brought out by INSA. I'm very glad that INSA has done that. I would urge INSA to come out with another document on very critical use of water. We have water guzzling crops. Should we be pursuing that? Similarly, optimal use of fertilizer is very important. Lastly, I want to say, this is the golden moments for me. I'm just completing golden jubilee of my fellowship of INSA. I was elected in 1976, and this is my golden jubilee year. So my greetings to INSA with which I've had very, very enjoyable and rewarding experience. Thank you.
We congratulate you, sir. It is indeed a pleasure for all of us. Thank you. To provide us a brief background, we now move ahead for the key perspectives related to this important policy document. And I now invite Professor G.D. Yadav, sir, Vice President, RGM INSA, to give us a brief background on the policy brief.
Thank you very much, Ananya. We have been talking about circular economy, carbon capture, utilization, and storage. There have been a lot of studies going on across the world. In this particular report, I was also part of this writing. The priority recommendations have been outlined to reflect a comprehensive and system-wide approach to energy policy in India. And as Professor Sharma said, we should add those 3 points which he just mentioned about LNG, okay, then coal gasification, and also water and the water guzzling crops. So under adequacy, there are 4 pillars here. Pillar 1 is adequacy.
Also add wave energy.
Yes, and also gas hydrates, green energy. So pillar 1 is adequacy, securing reliable energy supply. And we know the importance of this in today's war-torn world. Second is access, decentralized and inclusive energy systems. That is our pillar 2. Pillar 3 is affordability, ensuring financial sustainability, price stability, and equity for all. And lastly, pillar 4 is appropriate sustainability, local income, energy systems. There are many details given in this, and I won't go into the details of that, but this is a very timely, policy paper brought out by INSA, and I would like to compliment all those who contributed to this, because this was prepared in less than a month. It was not much time was given to the experts to comment and all. So it is a good area, and henceforth, I believe INSA will bring out many more policy papers which are required for the welfare of the nation. And just last night, Prime Minister was talking about 7 different aspects, how to, sustain ourselves, including, what should be done. We should not go to foreign countries and avoiding for years, and also, the gold purchase and things like that. So I think these are very important things for the nation, because we are going through a very critical phase. Being 1.46 billion people, our requirements are very, very high. So thank you so much for, releasing this document, sir, Professor Sharma and Dr. Mashilkar, and Dr. Mande is away. And so anyway, we thank all those fellows and energy experts who contributed to this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for presenting the broader vision and for highlighting the 4 pillars of the policy document, and also mentioning about the 7 aspects that the Prime Minister of India has shared with the nation. Thank you so much, sir. We are now privileged to hear the special remarks by one of the most respected names in the chemical engineering and scientific leadership in India, Professor M.M. Sharma. Professor Sharma's contribution to chemical engineering, research, industrial innovation, and institution building have inspired generations of scientists and engineers.
I'm supposed to talk on the lecture.
Sir, may I request you to kindly address the gathering now?
First of all, I wish to express my.
I just interject. I have to speak something before you speak. So I start with Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Professor M.M. Sharma has been my guru, my PhD guide, and Dr. Mashilkar has been his 5th student, PhD student, and both of them have been presidents of INSA. So I find it's a very interesting day for me. Today, on the occasion of this National Technology Day, about which Dr. Mande mentioned few factors, we gather to celebrate not only India's technological achievements, but also the life and legacy of one of the greatest architects of modern chemical engineering in India, Professor Manmohan Sharma. Professor Sharma was far more than outstanding scientist, a policymaker. He was a visionary institute builder, an inspiring teacher, a policy thinker, and tireless champion of translating science into industrial progress. Through his pioneering contributions in chemical reaction engineering, multiphase reactors, catalysis, transport phenomena, and industrial chemistry, he placed Indian chemical engineering firmly on the global scientific map. At a time when India was still building its technological identity, Professor Sharma demonstrated that world-class research could emerge from Indian laboratories with very little funding and based on ideas and could directly contribute to national development. His election as the Fellow of the Royal Society was not merely a personal distinction, it was a moment of pride for Indian science and engineering. Equally important were his contributions to national science policy, technology missions, industrial modernization, and the strengthening of India's scientific institution. What made Professor Sharma truly extraordinary was the multiplier effect of his mentorship. Some 1,500 odd PhD students have come out of his branch legacy. He nurtured generations of scientists, engineers, industrial leaders, and academic administrators who went on to shape Indian scientific ecosystem. Among his distinguished students is none other than Dr. R.A. Mashelkar, who is delivering today's National Technology Day lecture. Dr. Mashelkar himself, an FRS and former president of Indian National Science Academy, was Professor Sharma's fifth PhD student at the UDCT, University of Bombay then. Both Professor Sharma and Dr. Mashelkar made tremendous contributions not only to Indian science and engineering research, but also to policy making, innovation systems, intellectual property awareness, industrial competitiveness, and scientific administration. It is indeed remarkable that both mentor and student later served as presidents of INSA, reflecting their profound influence on Indian science leadership. Professor Sharma always believed that engineering science must not remain confined to journals and classrooms. It must solve industrial problems, generate wealth, create employment, and contribute to national self-reliance, so-called Atmanirbhar. Dr. Mashelkar carried forward this very philosophy through his advocacy of inclusive innovation and science-led national development. It is therefore deeply meaningful that this endowment lecture has been created through the generosity and gratitude of one of Professor Sharma's distinguished students, Mr. Vijay Samant, who is based in the United States. Such gestures remind us that the true measure of teacher lies not merely in the publications and awards, but in the affection, respect, and lifelong inspiration he always leaves behind in the hearts of his students. The enduring admiration for Professor Sharma is also reflected in the tremendous response to his biography published last June, both in Marathi and English, under the titles Guru Nam Guru and Divine Scientist, which were translated to Hindi and Gujarati, which have already emerged among the best-selling scientific biographies. These books capture not only the scientific brilliance of Professor Sharma, but also his humility, simplicity, intellectual discipline, humanity, and transformative influence on generation of students and colleagues. Today's lecture is therefore not merely an academic event, it is a tribute to a towering teacher whose influence transcended laboratories, institutions, industries, and national boundaries. As we celebrate today the National Technology Day, we also reaffirm the ideals that Professor M.M. Sharma stood for: excellence with humility, science with societal purpose, and technology as an instrument of national transformation. Jai Hind.
Well, thank you, Professor G.D. Yadav. You have been too gracious to praise me. I don't deserve all the praises that you have so liberally showered on me. A teacher is always known not by what he did, but what he left behind. And I'm very proud of the achievements of my collaborators. It gives me immense joy. Let me first of all thank profusely Indian National Science Academy President and the Council to agree to have a lecture in my name through the initiative of Professor G.D. Yadav and very, very good contribution from Vijay. Many of you won't know Vijay Samant, as a chemical engineer, headed the vaccine unit of Merck. So he was a vaccine expert. So you see for yourself versatility of chemical engineers, how they go into different fields. They are students of ours who have excelled in biomedical engineering and going great places. Indian National Science Academy has a very unique position, one which government recognizes for all overseas collaborations. It's the only academy which is entitled to have collaborations. I remember during 89-90 when I was president, how we strengthened our relationship with Germany during the time when East Germany was being merged with West Germany. Indian National Science Academy has maintained very high standards. And little while ago, I had mentioned to you that I'm celebrating Golden Jubilee of my association. I went through all the channels which are required in INSA. I was member of the council. I was heading the sectional committee. I was president. I was president. And I still have vivid recollection of the old presidential suite, old guest house. It had its own charm. I understand that building is going to be demolished and a new building will come, and J.D. Yadav is taking some initiative. This theme which you have picked up by way of release of the document, I made some brief remarks. And I think energy is far too critical for the growth of the nation, and all forms of energy, not just having energy bureaus and all, but it should be seen in action. And it's very important that some of the points which I raise are also considered by the group of people who are preparing this document. I wish to once again thank INSA, thank Vijay Samant, and thank Professor G.D. Yadav for instituting this lecture, which has humbled me. Since I cherish my association with INSA, I welcome this lectureship. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sharma, and thank you, sir, for the insightful and inspiring remarks from your end. We now move ahead with the trajectory, and I now invite Shri Vijay Bal Samanji, Director, Board of Member of Zyconic Pharmaceuticals from United States of America and the donor of the endowment supporting this lecture series, to kindly share his remarks.
Well, good morning and welcome from Philadelphia. I think so much has already been said by all these distinguished speakers who preceded me. And it's 1:20 in the morning here in Philadelphia. So I'm not going to say a lot more things than what has already been said and keep you away from a very interesting lecture ahead of you. Just briefly, I would like to thank Professor Shekhar Mande, Professor G.D. Yadav, and the Indian National Science Academy for establishing the Professor M. Sharma National Technology Day Lecture. I think it's a great honor for Professor Sharma and for INSA to take that initiative. Now, there's a word sanjog in Sanskrit that's perhaps used even more frequently in Punjabi, sometimes in Hindi. I'll leave it to the audience to explore its deeper meaning on the internet. But today it really feels like sanjog, or as the French would say, le destin, which is destiny, that Professor or Dr. Raghunath Mashelkar is delivering this special lecture in honor of his guru. I think it's an amazing occasion. It's also particularly fitting that both Professor Sharma and Dr. Mashelkar are former presidents of the Indian National Science Academy. Both are eminent technologists, both fellows of the Royal Society, and both individuals have made immense contributions to the growth of science and technology in India. And I am probably understating it. Others in the audience will have more to add to that as we go along. We look forward to the Indian National Science Academy continuing this wonderful tradition in the years to come by inviting distinguished speakers to this forum. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you. Thank you, Vijay.
Thank you so much, Shri Samanji, for your generous support towards promoting scientific dialogue and innovation-driven thought leadership. Thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now the most awaited moment of today's program, and my distinct honor and privilege to now invite our distinguished professor for Professor M.M. Sharma National Technology Day Lecture 2026. To be delivered by Professor R.A. Mashelkar, former President INSA, Indian National Science Academy. Sir has consistently championed the philosophy of inclusive innovation and coined the globally acclaimed concept of more from less for more, a model of innovation that seeks to deliver more value using fewer resources for the benefit of more people. Today, we are privileged to hear him speak on more from less for more, innovation's holy grail. Sir, the floor is yours to begin with the lecture.
Thank you. Thank you very much. May I share the screen, please?
You are on the screen.
GD, have you given sharing permissions from your end on the Zoom?
Yeah, it is given, already given.
Okay.
Host बना दो ना.
They have changed, Professor Mashelkar, the sharing tab on Zoom lately.
वहाँ किसको कुछ नहीं. हम कर रहे हैं.
Yeah.
आप आ गया. ठीक है. Make it full screen. How they will do?
Can you see the first slide?
Yes.
Yes, please. Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much, INSA, Professor G.D. Yadav, Dr. Samant, that you have given me this great honor and opportunity. I think this is a special day in my life for a number of reasons. I think the first and foremost is the name Professor M.M. Sharma is associated with this lecture, and he has been my guru. So whatever I am is because of him. He has been guru, guide, friend, philosopher till this date. I entered university in 1964. So we have had, 1962 and 64 he came in my life. So 26 plus 20, 36 plus 26, 62 years we have been in contact with each other. And I want to begin my lecture with my pranams to my revered guru. The second point I want to make is that we found a unique Guru Shishya pair. As you know, in 365 years, there have been only 4 Indian engineering scientists who have become FRS. And this is a unique photograph where both Guru and Shishya are signing in the same book that Newton has signed, Professor Sharma in 1990 and his Shishya in 1998. So this makes this lecture even more special. I want to now relate to National Technology Day, 11 May 1998. In some way, I was associated and involved in making this day a National Technology Day. We had the CSI Directors Conference. All 40 directors were present. You can see the photograph here with the Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Murli Manohar Joshi. And this is where the birth of the idea of national technology was born. I want to show something else on that day that happened, which was significant for me. I had taken over as Director General of CSIR in 1995. And our idea was to build Team CSR because 40 national labs had behaved like 40 individual laboratories. Bringing them together was very important. So from day one, my effort was to bring Team CSR. In fact, I remember in the very first year, I visited all the 40 laboratories from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. And at the end of this conference, CSR Directors Conference, they spontaneously signed something and presented to me. It was so-called the Bangalore Declaration of Team CSR. And I was deeply touched when they said, India matters to us. It is our endeavor that we shall matter to India more. And as you know, the CSR transformation in 90s has been now recognized by Professor Jay Narlikar in his book Scientific Age as among the top 10 achievements of Indian science and technology in the 20th century. So this day, this signaling is very, very important. But on that day, also, something else happened. There were three major technology events on 11 May 1919. The first was the test flight of Ansar 3, India's first indigenously built aircraft that was done by National Aerospace Laboratory. And for CSR, it was a very proud day indeed. And in the afternoon, we got this news of the Trishul missile test by DRDO. And in the evening, we got the news of Pokhran 2 nuclear test. So there were three technology events that took place on that day. And then I remember after the announcement, everybody was excited. We stopped the directors' conference. Professor Joshi and I were watching the television. And of course, the whole world was shaken by this particular event. And I remember it was Dr. Bhojwani, who was heading the Technology Utilization Division, who said, these three events have taken place, why don't we call it a Technology Day? And I sort of mentioned this to our minister, Dr. Murli Manoj Joshi, and he said, yes, we'll of course do it. But nothing much happened after that. And I remember there was in National Physical Laboratory, the CSR Bhatnagar Award ceremony was there. And I had a chance to talk to the Prime Minister, to whom next I was sitting. And I just mentioned the significance of this event. He didn't say anything, he didn't react at all. And then he went on to read his written speech, then kept the papers down and announced that 11 May will be declared as a National Technology Day. This was wonderful because that came spontaneously. Normally, when we have such national days announced, you require cabinet approvals and all that. No. For him, his own call was just good enough to give a national call on calling it a National Technology Day. And I have special memories of that particular day because as we were walking for tea, and he was walking slowly, as you know, he asked me, Mashelkar, now these sanctions have come. How will the science and technology community is reacting? What should they be doing? I said, sir, let them put all the sanctions. As long as we don't put sanctions on our own mind, nothing will happen. We'll deal with everything. You know, he stopped, shook my hands and said, please carry this message across the country. So this was a very, very special day, and I want to recollect those wonderful memories. Let me come to the lecture proper now, more from less for more people. Actually, this learning of more from less for more came from my Guruji, Professor Sharma. He always used to say, it is not the power of idea, it is not the power of budget, but it is the power of idea that matters. And I remember with very frugal means, he showed us how to do world-class research. So that grounding was already there. And I remember the Australian Academy, I was the first Indian engineer that they actually honored with the ATSC fellowship. So I said they don't know enough about India because I could have given 100 more names who were better than me. So I said I must tell them something about India. And the title of my talk was Gandhi to Gandhian Engineering, Getting More from Less for More People. This was 2008, by the way. Long, long time ago indeed. And why did I call it Gandhian Engineering? Because Mahatma Gandhi had said that earth provides enough to satisfy everyone's need, but not everyone's greed. That means get more from less. Use the resources that are exhaustible carefully, get more of them. And for what? For more, because he had also said that I would prize every invention of science made for the benefit for all. So this became more from less for more. And this is the book that I wrote with Sushil Borde. And this, I'm very proud to say, within 6 months has become a national bestseller. Now, what happens was that when I talked about more from less for more, I happened to get to know C.K. Prahlad, and because we were on the common board of Hindustan Unilever and Microsoft India Advisory Board and so on and so forth. So I was discussing this idea with him and he loved it. And he said, why don't we write a paper on this? And we wrote a paper in Harvard Business Review on innovation's holy grail, more from less for more. And it had to do with what does it mean for the business, doing well as doing good. And this I'm very proud to see has been ranked as the 10 must read papers in innovation now. World Economic Forum picked up that idea. And I remember our paper appeared in July. In November itself, they had a special session on more from less for more. And let me explain this concept by giving you an example. What does that mean? Now, if you see, this young man has unfortunately lost his leg, and he is using this $12,000 foot. This innovation I would call as more from more for less and less people. Why more from more? Because it is very expensive, has number of features, but for less and less people, because it is so expensive that hardly anybody can afford it. The other end is less from less for more and more people. This is a wooden foot for a poor man, okay? And more people can afford it. But this is less from less because you are carrying the weight of the wooden foot. In India, we have what is called as jugaad, for example. You know, I'm not particularly fond of jugaad because somehow or the other, it is fixing things, and we have had jugaad vehicles collapse and young children dying and so on and so forth. So this is less from less for more. So I'm neither for more from more for less people, MML, nor am I for less from less for more people. I'm for more from less for more people. And I will give this Jaipur foot example just to show you what that means. This food just cost $28 foot, but it became sort of the cover page of Time, where they say the global source of landmines left 1,000 limbless, and then two gifted Indians developed this $28 food. What is it? You can see
Because 80% of Indian population is still they are working in fields. So they can freely work
and how
on the field and we don't have to change their profession.
And then you can see how robust it is. He jumps. Right? And look at what he says. Did it hurt? No, not at all. Then what he does is something miraculous.
But has the baloney name? Baloney, yes, difficult.
In 4 minutes, 30 seconds. Normally, if I was physically present in Incha, and if there was an audience, I would have asked a question, how many of you can run a kilometer in 4 minutes? And wherever I have asked that question, I'll tell you, hardly 4 or 5 hands go up. What does that mean? That means less than 5%, less than 1%, depending upon the audience, can beat him. Can you just imagine if he was given a $12,000 foot, he would not have afforded it. If he was given a wooden foot, he would have taken hours to go kilometer. But he has been given a Jaipur foot, which is an affordable excellence, as I would say. And that excellence allows him to beat practically all of us. That is the definition of more from less for more, affordable excellence, making higher technology work for the poor. And this has implications in all fields, education, agriculture, energy, about which we were talking about, health, and so on and so forth. So I began my talks in Canberra. I told you about that lecture. I remember speaking in North America, spoke in Washington, for example, World Bank, and they created an inclusive innovation sort of a initiative. I was the president of Global Research Alliance, which ran that in Vietnam. For example, it was a $55 million project on making high technology work for the poor. Then I remember speaking in Asia and in Manila, Asian Development Bank, and I remember they're creating a project on MLM, more from less for more. I was called to speak. Of course, I spoke at a number of places. One of them was Brussels. And the European Commission on Innovation, they invited me to speak there. I spoke to 2,000 Europeans at that time, telling them the importance of this. And I remember somebody getting up and saying, oh, well, this is important for India. What does it mean for Europe? And I remember a European got up and said, Dr. Mashelkar, don't answer that question. I will answer that question. He said, it is as important because we are an unequal society. There are migrants, there are refugees, and there are poor Europeans also, just as rich Europeans, and we require this as much. Beijing, I was invited to speak in the World Bank organized event because inclusive innovation, getting more from less for more, was important for China because one of their top priorities was social disharmony that was coming in because rich were getting richer and poor were getting poorer. And I remember giving the keynote there. I spoke in several other sort of countries. Tokyo, I was invited to speak. Sustainable Development Goals, they felt that doing more from less for more can meet many of the goals. Colombo, Cape Town, Pretoria, Medellin, World Association of Industrial Technology Research Organizations, 155 nations were sort of participating. I mean, they were members. I spoke there and so on and so forth. Now, in different ways, MLM becomes important. Let me start with education. What is the most powerful equation, somebody had asked, and somebody got up and said, it is Newton, force equal to mass into acceleration. Somebody said, no, 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 it is Einstein, E equal to mc square. When they asked me, I said, no, none of the above. The most powerful equation is E equal to F, that is education is equal to future. Now you would say that once you propose an equation, you have to prove it. Well, I am myself a proof of that. This was given in 17 March, on 17 March 2000. I remember Ratan Tata receiving Padma Bhushan, and after him, I received the Padma Bhushan on the same day. And what is special about this? How does it prove the equation? K.R. Narayanan was born in a very poor family. He walked kilometers to go to his school. His parents were so poor that they could not afford the tuition fees. So he would stand outside the class and take notes. And then he got a breakthrough. He got a Tata scholarship, which gave an opportunity to build his future through education and higher education, and he became the president. I am receiving Padma Bhushan from him. My story is not too dissimilar. I was born in a very poor family in a village called Mashel in Goa. My father died when I was 6. My mother brought me to Mumbai. 2 meals a day was a challenge. She was a uneducated lady. And I remember my studying under street lights, walking barefoot until I was 12. And in the secondary school certificate exam, I stood 11th among 135,000 students. That is where I got the Tata Scholarship, got an opportunity to do education and higher education. So here it is. Ratan Tata and I, a Tata scholar, both received Padma Bhushan at the hands of the then president, another Tata scholar. If this does not prove the equation E equal to F, nothing else will. Now, we are talking about Vikasit Bharat at 100, that is by 2047. The challenge is that there is an India and there is a Bharat. This is India, tall buildings, skyscrapers, and so on. And very next to it is Bharat at 75, staying in juggies. But some of them even have a juggi. They live in pipes. Like this mother, she is preparing her daughter for school because she understands the importance of building her future through education. Now, what has happened is that when COVID came, for example, you saw a number of digitally deprived students committing suicide because they couldn't attend the online classes. In Maharashtra, Shraddha Poor, a poor girl whose father could not afford either a tablet or a phone, she could not give an online exam and she committed suicide. In Punjab, in Kerala, in Karnataka, West Bengal, Assam, all over the country. Can you imagine a 15-year-old, 16-year-old plotting their own suicide? That is Bharat. That's the reality. Now, supposing there was some affordable tablet, affordable device, maybe their lives would have been saved. So did we try that? Indeed, we tried that. For example, there was this computer in 2002, which was a handheld computer. I remember I myself, when I was the DG of CSR, I said $2,000 laptop, can we do it in $200? And Mobilis came out, which was launched by Mr. Kapil Sibal, who was then our Minister of Science and Technology, 2005. And then, of course, Akash tablet, when Mr. Kapil Sibal was Education Minister, he launched in 2010. All of them were failures. So doing more from less for more is not easy, is the first point I want to make. Why did that happen? Simputer was so fantastic. In fact, Bruce Sterling from New York Times had said the most significant innovation in computer technology in 2001 was not Apple's gleaming titanium PowerBook G4 or Microsoft Windows XP. It was the Simputer, a net-link, radically simple, portable computer intended to bring the computer revolution to the third world. Did it bring? No. Because it made a significant technological leap, because it failed to become a mass market product. And later on, I will explain to you the importance of public procurement policy. Lack of that in India at that time actually prevented its large-scale adoption. I'll explain that in greater detail. Mobilis, the one that I talked about, which CSIR had developed, we had aimed at pricing it low, but it had limited processing power, functionally weakened its competitiveness. And of course, then later on, smartphones and tablets came, which had better features. So it was a failure. And then Akash tablet, it was ambitious vision undermined by execution gaps. There were supply chain delays, disputes. They hindered large-scale distribution. The hardware was weak. Its poor performance, limited storage made it ineffective for learning. and production disputes and better alternatives, of course, led it to eventual failure. In fact, at the world scale, in MIT Media Lab, they had tried this, Negroponte had tried this one laptop per child initiative, $100 laptop target, that proved financially unattainable. And the promises that were given for large public procurement by some countries, they failed to keep them. There were software gaps, maintenance issues, and rising smartphone use reduced impact. So, my friends, I want to tell you that saying MLM is one thing, getting MLM into actual practice is quite difficult. But finally, our Reliance did it. I was in Bay Area, California, and I was giving the opening keynote address in a conference, and I very proudly showed this Geo, which with the 4G digital life, affordable excellence, just 999 rupees only. And this for 250 million 2G mobile subscribers who cannot afford a smartphone. So here you can see the combination of scale and soul going together. And later on, I will explain to you how this was made successful. Now, I talked about education. I talked about the role of the digital world and how we can create affordability and what are the challenges. Can we create the magic of healthcare access equality despite income inequality? And the answer again is MLM, more from less for more, disruptive inclusive innovation that creates the next practice of affordable excellence. In my mother's name, I created this Anjani Mashelkar Foundation almost 15 years ago. And the idea was making high technology work for the poor. But I put the condition, I'm not a great believer in best practice, because best practice means you are copying somebody's best practice, which is already in practice. I want to create next practice. I want my India to create next practice, which can become the best practice for the rest of the world. And this Mashelkar Foundation, Anjani Mashelkar Foundation, was precisely meant for that. And you will see these award winners over a period of time. We have had 15 of them, each doing something which makes affordable excellence, which makes high technology work for the poor. I won't have time to go through all four, but as an illustration, I would show you some. I think what is very important is that there is something common between all these young people. One, they just don't want to create or chase $1 billion. They want to bring smiles on billion faces. They value values more than valuations. So I'm very proud to see such young people who do that. And these are the disruptive, game-changing MLM innovations that are in the market. Some are there in 12 countries, some are there in 20 countries, and one of them is even in 50 countries today. Let me say that we focus on screening and diagnosis. The reason was early screening is very, very important. Look at breast cancer, for example. If you detect it early here, you know, the costs are small and you're bound to get cured. But later you detect it, you spend lakhs and lakhs, and you have little chance of survival. In fact, 2/3 of women die because of late diagnosis in this space. Early diagnosis can save you. Now, the India needs the MLM paradigm to solve healthcare challenges. What should be the characteristics? One, it has to be affordable, low cost to be enjoyed by people across all income segments. It has to be accessible to remotest parts of the country. It has to be high quality. Excellence is uncompromising. User-friendly, because we are looking at using these in villages and so on. Integrated, and finally 100% digital, because that eliminates all the human error and real-time data capturing and output. The winners of Anjani Mashelkar Award, we have tried to bring them all together to do that. So the praise for this MLM, and when you look at the more from less for more book, we are given case studies. on 7 or 8 of them. Soumya Swaminathan, the former chief scientist, when she read that, she said the book goes beyond philosophy. It provides clear levers and pathways to make affordable, inclusive healthcare reality. Bill Hasseltine, who created human genome science, the Harvard Medical School professor, a tall figure, they say transformative innovation of the Anjani Mashelkar Foundation hold immense promise for the future of public healthcare. And Cyrus Poonawalla, Serum Institute of India, whose vaccines are used all around the world. The work of Anjani Mashelkar Foundation featured in this book is a powerful example of making high technology work for all. Now, looking at some example, diagnosing respiratory problems using saliva. Normally you use a spirometer. That is the best practice. The next practice is you have a smartphone or you have a mobile and you just cough into it. What is the difference? Spirometer costs 1,50,000. Here you already have the mobile. The assessment cost in spirometer is 1,500 rupees. This is just 10 rupees. And the results take here 90 minutes, and this is instant. Can you imagine that? Very large scale lung health scale assessment done so far. And there is paper in Nature, as a matter of fact. There are 2 papers in Nature, by the way. The inventor is not a PhD. It doesn't have to be a PhD. You can still publish papers in Nature and also all scientific journals. But I want to highlight to INSA, Indian National Science Academy. If the science is done even by startups who are not PhDs, who are not fellows of Indian National Science Academy. You know, it is your desire to use the best of science to create the best of technology and best of innovation. And of course, breast cancer, for example, the best practice is mammography. Next practice is eye breast exam, where this device is just moved around the breast. Just see the difference. The equipment cost here is 80 lakh, this is just 6 lakh. Assessment takes 1,500 to 3,000 rupees. Not available in villages, of course, you have to go to the hospital, like Tata Memorial Center. Here it is just 150 rupees. And this takes 30 minutes and instant. And plus there are other features. It is painless, no mammography, radiation-free, operable by primary care providers, ultra-portable, accurate, minimal training, and wireless. And this is now used in 20 countries and has been approved by US FDA. In fact, the Lancet breast cancer screening, can the eye breast exam bridge the gap? They have certified this as one of the best. Here is another one. You want to find your hemoglobin. Normally, somebody will come in the morning, take a prick, take the blood, and by afternoon, you will get the results. No. Easy Check has been created where you just put your finger and you get a readout. What is the difference? If you see the equipment cost for a CBC machine, it will be 2 lakh to 5 lakh. This is just 35,000. You give 100 to 300 rupees for a blood test. This is just 10 rupees. And this will take a few hours to a day for CBC. This is done in less than 60 seconds. This is incredible. Axiostat, for example, is an advanced wound dressing known for stopping profuse bleeding. Axiostat requires minimal preparation time as against other methods and stop bleeding in just 2 minutes, by the way. Now, this is present in 50 plus countries and 300 battalions in Indian Army use it. In fact, during Sindoor, I remember Livo Mauli telling me that there were a lot of orders from all around the world. And he gave, of course, Indian Army the preference and gave everything that he had to them. Can you just imagine what difference it can make? Again, to fellows of Indian National Science Academy, there is a paper in PNAS, an architecturally rational hemostat for rapid stopping of massive bleeding on anticoagulation therapy that has appeared. High science backed by creation of this high technology which works for the poor. Now, what we have done is created a company called FX Healthcare, and this is the bag, and this contains some of these devices. And it can actually do these 20 tests that you see here. Non-invasively, medical grade, point of care, fully digital, and ultra affordable. Why ultra affordable? Because 20 tests are done in 10 minutes for just 100 rupees. Can you just believe it? What difference it can make? Just 10 minutes, 20 tests, which I hear done in just 100 rupees. This is the ultimate in affordable excellence, I would say. So therefore, the individual actually does a fully digital non-invasive testing at site, basically. Then, of course, if there is something wrong, he can take a longitudinal view of the patient, of course, is taken. There is a consultation that is done. And then, of course, monitoring can be done and the improved output. So this is a new model that you can get by such FX health kit. Just show you some case studies. For example, Tata Power, CSR. They've done it in 4 states of India, 30,000 people. And are out of 10,000 individuals screened, so many were found with hypertension risk, anemia risk, diabetes risk, and COPD risk. And in fact, there is an interesting story of somebody who came, he saw the test being done. He said, what is happening? We say, we are doing this. Say, oh, I'm healthy, nothing wrong with me. And he was walking away. We said, no, let's do our test. And can you believe it? He had tuberculosis without symptoms. He must be affecting so many people in his family and friends and so on. We sent him to the hospital and found that he had TB and he was put, let us say. So this is the major challenge, that we go to the doctor only when we have symptoms, but you may not have symptoms and still you will have challenges. Tata Motors are doing the screening. They in integrated village development program, the Chief Minister, you can see launching the program, these women with FX healthcare kit. The Walkout Foundation, they have this 1,000 mobile program, which actually is now equipped with these healthcare, so FX healthcare kits. And you can see the difference as a matter of fact, because you get the instant results and so affordably. 100 rupees is nothing for 20 tests. And there is an NGO-led screening that we are doing. I was president of this Surupuvardhini, which looks at the education of the poor. So I stepped down as a president a couple of years ago. Vivek Samant has taken over. And in my final presidential address, I had said that we should not look only at the education, but also the health of the children. And by that time, this Easy Care hemoglobin measuring device was available. And they did 15,000 school children. And can you believe almost 62% of them were anemic? I'm not talking about tribal area. I'm talking about the heart of Pune. Now, how serious is this problem? Because if your hemoglobin levels are like 4, 5, 6, how will your brain develop, basically? We are talking about Vikasit Bharat. How can that Vikasit Bharat take place if such instances of anemia are there? This has gone to Goa now. I was recently felicitated by the Chief Minister with a special award, and they have started this, and he announced publicly that soon rupees 100 tests to check 20 parameters in 10 minutes will start, because they want to use these all in their public healthcare units. Transformative. So MLM can be really transformative. We have a multiplier effect. Of course, now not only do we recognize, we give investment support, other supports, market access, create government partnerships, and certification and approvals. We are trying to take MLM as far as it can do. Let me now move to the corporates. I have shown to you, the purpose of my showing is that at a ground level, our startups with the heart in the right place can use MLM to the extreme, all right, and can make a big difference. What is the best example of MLM? In my book, the very first chapter is this. Reliance. Innovation at Reliance is MLM at its best. And I've been on the board for 17 years, and I've seen the way they do this MLM. Their major slogan was growth is life, but then they said innovation must be a way of life. Innovation led growth, and now innovation led exponential growth, and that cannot be without disruptive innovation. So it is disruptive innovation. So this is a photograph in the Reliance Innovation Leadership Center. And I remember a conversation with Mukesh Bhai when he said, Doc, we must leapfrog. I said, Mukesh Bhai, do you know why the frog leaps? So he said, I don't know. So I said, he leaps because he's afraid of the predator and jumps a few feet. Do we want to do that because we are afraid of the competition? We must pole vault. The size of the pole is the size of our aspiration. And that is where this book, Leapfrogging to Pole Vaulting, came up, which got the Best Business Book of the Year award. But that pole vaulting actually is inspired by what Reliance has done. You know, they pole vaulted from 155th position to number 1 position. If you look at the telephone, it took, sorry, just let me go back. If you look at the millions of GB consumed per month, India was here, it jumped and pole vaulted after Jio's entry in February 2000. But Jio onboarded 50 million customers in just 83 days. Telephone took 50 years, mobile 12 years, YouTube 4 years, Facebook 3 years, Twitter 2 years, and Reliance Jio, of course, did it in just 83 days, actually. So for Jio and before Jio and after Jio, you can see a 4G VoLTE phone from $300 to $23, effectively zero because it was voice was given free. Data per GB cost $5 to 100 times less, and voice expenditure from $1.6 to zero. This is extreme in MLM and rapid, as you saw, the speed and scale. So I want to emphasize that MLM needs end-to-end innovation. It is not just technological innovation, but also business model innovation, workflow innovation, organization innovation, research process innovation, system delivery innovation, and also policy innovation. They are all important. I want to illustrate it, and you will find it in the More from Less for More book. You know, there were a number of innovations that they did. It was not just deep pockets of Mukesh Ambani. There was a deep innovation which made it possible. What was that? First, 100% IP network, infinitely scalable to 1 trillion GB per month, and Aadhaar-based sign-up so that within 15 minutes, the activation will be done, not days. Then ideas from other sectors, you know, horizontal drilling that is used in oil and gas. They used that for drilling and the post offices, they were geo centers which were created on the basis of that model. There's a construction innovation. Micropiling was used 17 feet in 6 hours. Compact monopole innovation that reduces costs and took only 2 days to set up a complete tower, as against several, couple of weeks. And delivery and cost innovation, 10,000 agents on motorbikes for SIM delivery, biometric machines, trading CapEx for OpEx. This was very, very important. And if you look at the customer onboarding, for example, they had Jio Aadhaar eKYC, which was a game-changing solution for customer onboarding. They fast-track customer onboarding from days to minutes, reduce operational compliance, no paper storage or movement, and Jio onboarded 100 million customers in a record time of 170 days. And innovated again when the Supreme Court ruling was almost about to stop them because they stopped the eKYC. They said, fine, thank you very much. They migrated from eKYC to image-based authentication using HyperEdge AI platform. All right. So it was innovation, innovation, innovation all the time. and that solution was developed in 15. So what is the learning from Geo for MLM? One is big bet on future markets and technology that may not yet exist or mature. Recreate each variable from the ground upwards so that we create a new market, offer a new service, curate a new price point, and market a new value proposition. Adopt a platform approach to build scalable, agile technology and business operations, and build for the future by embedding flexibility and scalability to adapt to emerging opportunities. In our book, we have elaborated on all this. But we are not the only ones. I must give credit to China. For example, DeepSeek, MLM of LLM, AI that is affordable for everyone. Because most AI companies charge high prices for model usage. DeepSeek adopted a radically different low-cost pricing strategy, 0.27 per million words processed and 1.10 per million words generated. OpenAI and Anthropic charge $10 to $15 per million words, and its pricing made advanced AI for more accessible globally. A real example of far more from far less for far more people. And how did they achieve that? They incentivize reasoning in LLM through reinforcement learning, smarter design, not bigger budget or hardware. Like my Guruji always said, power of idea, not the power of budget. Achieved high AI performance through innovation, not massive spending. Optimize algorithms and energy use instead of adding computing power. And this reduced memory usage by 75% with minimal accuracy loss. Employed mixture of experts and multi-head latent attention for efficiency, and activated only relevant parameters per task, reducing computation and cost. In fact, in our book, we have written a couple of pages in full detail on how they saw how the brain works and used some of its working in designing that. So, my friends, I want to tell you that MLM is not easy. MLM requires the best of innovation. I will leave this slide. Let us move to some other fields. For example, can we do it in agriculture? Yes. In fact, I have a full-fledged lecture that I was invited to give to the IRI Alumni Association, the second Foundation Day lecture. And you will find it on their website. So I'm not going to spend much time. Just show you a couple of examples. Because MLM in the Indian agriculture context means achieving higher yields, better resilience, and improved sustainability using minimal inputs. And for more would mean ensuring that small landholders, who make up to 85% of India's 145 million farmers, access, adopt, and benefit from this innovation at scale. I was talking to Prataprao Pawar on the other day, and Baramati has done something remarkable. This AI-driven farming is a success story in AI-powered farming. Sugarcane yield up by 40% using 30% less costs, and it can be really a model. I must also give one example. You know, I was on the Prime Minister of Singapore's National Innovation Foundation Advisory Board. And I remember Singapore has its own problems because they're short of land. So either they can grow up the ground or go below the ground, okay? And they're trying to do both. So one of the projects that came up was vertical farming, actually, all right? So more fresh food from less land for benefit of more people. And as a matter of fact, I mean, the speed with which they did that, the idea was discussed in the first or second meeting. By the third or fourth meeting, they had already done this. The Sky Greens in Singapore was built to enhance food self-sufficiency. Half a ton of leafy vegetables daily using minimal resources. Rotating towers to ensure automatic sunlight, irrigation, and ventilation balance. Operates at low carbon, land efficient, year-round food production model, and serves as a global prototype for climate resilient urban agriculture. When we look at the future, some of these models will have to take seriously, MLM, more from less for more. I'm very happy about INSA policy brief. I've read the report, by the way. I really admire the depth to which you have gone. I have some comments which I will send separately, just as Professor Sharma had. But I will pick up one of the points that you have made, a couple of points. And one of them is unified in that the stranded asset, 25 gigawatt gas assets sitting idle, which is a wasted capacity. Coal plants operating at only 68% load factor. That's a waste. 60 gigawatt renewable projects stranded by transmission bottlenecks. Now here you can bring in MLM, AI-driven smart dispatch and dynamic load balancing, time of day pricing plus digital twins for grids, and predictive maintenance to maximum uptime. And you can have a radical transformation. I love this more value from less coal, from combustion economy to carbon value economy. Today only I saw the announcement that for coal gasification, the government is going to invest hugely. And the MLM shift is really beyond burning. So instead of burning coal once for electricity, convert coal to methanol, DME, hydrogen, chemicals, fertilizers, synfuels. And via MLM, greater strategic autonomy. As you know, once LPG was not available, through what hardship India went, and one started running and looking around the alternatives, greater strategic autonomy and lower import dependence, more jobs across chemical and energy value. So actually a radical transformation from coal burning nation to carbon conversion nation. And basically something like these chemicals, including dimethyl ether. The pity was that dimethyl ether, there was a 250 kilogram per day pilot plant running in NCL, and nothing was being done about it scaling up to 2.5 tons per day, basically. And came this catastrophe of LPG not being aware. And I'm very happy Dr. G.D. Yadav is the chairman of Center for High Technology, and they acted, and now they have been funded, etc. And now there is a big demand from, I was talking to Dr. Ashish Lele, who has been the mastermind behind the NCL's work. And there are customers that are coming, but now there are other regulatory hurdles and other things that are coming up. There have to be permissions for blending that have to come, and so on and so forth. So it is not just technology alone, it is the whole ecosystem that has to actually work. We have every capability, but we have to have the total ecosystem. And one more point I want to make is about the New Millennium Indian Technology Leadership Initiative. I was the DG of CSR when we launched it in year 2000. This is India's biggest public-private partnership in innovation. More than 100 private sector companies, more than 250 institutions, which was based on talent, technology, and trust. It was grand challenge driven, and there were bold financial instruments, not venture capital, adventure capital, because venture capital many times starts becoming vulture capital, wanting immediate. But here there is adventure. Why adventure? Because India had operated so far here, where technologies were certain and markets were certain. We moved into areas where technologies were uncertain and markets were uncertain, like fuel cells. We started work on that, and again, grateful to Professor Sharma, who guided us, mentored us in these programs way ahead of time when there were markets that were uncertain and technologies were uncertain. And what I want to emphasize is MLM, India's competitive edge in energy research. The Nimitli budget for fuel cells for 13 years, were 10 times lower than the US DOE budget of 1 year for the same goals. Just look at this. Fuel cell program, 45 crores, $7 million. Okay. And US Department of Energy, 2009 budget itself was $77 million. For heaven's sake, let us understand the competitive advantage of our being able to deliver more intellectual value per dollar. That is why there are now all these GCCs in India, all the R&D centers all the top companies setting up their R&D centers here. They are making use of it. For heaven's sake, let us understand this competitiveness and make use of it. I have to pay my respects to Ravi Pandit, who passed away just 48 hours ago. It was his championship of Nimitli. You can see here Ashish Lere and myself when he launched the first indigenous hydrogen fuel cell bus. I'm very happy that earlier in the year, Indian National Science Academy elected him as a fellow for his commitment to science in different ways. Unfortunately, he's no more. We pay our homage to him. May his soul rest in peace. But it requires leadership like Ravi Pandit to support, take risks, because he invested his own money in this technology. And of course, our Honorable Prime Minister launched this first hydrogen-powered ferry cell. Again, this is MLM. It is better than the best in the world in terms of performance. It is lowest in the cost. It has already gone commercial. There is in Varanasi, this thing is running, a ferry is running. What we require now is understanding 8 levers of this successful MLM approach. The book gives it, the more from less for more. Embracing high technology, our book covers these cases of ISRO at Jaipur Food. Introducing national policies like India Stack, Ujala, Mars State Innovation Society. We are given how these types of policies have made a difference in MLM. Then there is a business model innovation like the Khan Academy, Google. Then the workflow innovation like Arvind Eye Care System. And of course, there are system delivery innovations like ONDC, leveraging the shared assets like open source drug discovery. Then leadership like Mukesh I told you about, Ratan Tata who had created Nano, Keki Gharda once again, and so on. And then of course, we have chapters on constraint-based innovation, because scarcity and aspiration are the best combinations. We show in our book how MLM can be done by that. The need of the hour is the innovative public procurement policy to support MLM initiatives. And there is this book called Path Ahead, Transformative Ideas for India by Amitabh Kant. And I have a chapter in that because Amitabh asked me as to what are those things which can move India into a different orbit. And I said, we lack public procurement policy for innovation. For others, they are there, but for innovation. And the agenda is, first of all, innovative public oriented public procurement policy for innovation as well as of innovation. So catalyzing both demand and supply side. Second, specify levels of performance or functionality that are not achievable with the off-the-shelf product, because we are running after off-the-shelf products and picking up the best. No, for heaven's sake, let us raise our bar. Then all the ministries to be mandated to public long-term demand forecasts, offer professional training on legal options to promote innovation, and foster strategic dialogue and exchange of experience between procurement agencies, end users, industry, and then finally, procurement agencies for ministries should be given specific targets for innovation procurement. Like in Maharashtra State, I have been the chairman of the Maharashtra State Innovation Council. And I remember each of the department was given those targets, as a matter of fact, on what should be the percentage of procurement based on innovative products. And of course, there are others, like for speedy implementation, we have to create an innovation procurement platform as an online infrastructure that has to be created. Then public procurement resource center should have central databases and documents on all aspects. Then major investments to be made in capacity building, in public procurement for innovation, specific training, and it requires at all levels, by the way. Like I said, cuff into a smartphone and you know whether you have TB or not, okay? But if the procurement agencies are going to say, not recognize software as a medical equipment, you won't be able to acquire that. So therefore, there is a fundamental change that is required. Then to reduce possible loss and damage, robust risk management and impact measurement systems have to be built. Standardization has to be done as a catalyst for innovation with full consultation with the Indian industry. And there should be a total transparency, designing a legal framework which should include easily understandable definitions. There is this assured framework in our book: affordable, scalable, sustainable, user-friendly, rapid, excellence in terms of technology, and distinctive, which is quantitized. I started using it when I was appointed the chairman of the Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation for selecting the best technologies, and that has spread all around now. Such a framework ensures that certain norms are actually met. So this is the agenda for public procurement, because you can't achieve MLM unless it is backed up by policy. Now, last 3 slides, the businesses have to change their outlook from technologically sophisticated performance-rich products with many features to functional but high-tech, high-quality products. Remove features to reduce costs. That's what we normally do. No. Reinvent the product from ground up. Premium price, high margins. No. Affordable price, high volumes. You will make money by high volumes like Jio does. Technology push, product out approach. No. Customer-centric, market-based approach. Current markets, old money. No. New market, new money. Because what we are trying to do, the same pie we are trying to cut each other and get more share. No. For heaven's sake, increase the size of the pie, okay, by serving the so-called unserved so far. The size of the pie will increase and new markets will come and new money. And use developed products to transform emerging markets. No, sorry. Build new global growth platforms, and India is capable of doing that for emerging markets. Similarly, our academics have to change their mind. The drivers for us are frontier innovation, curiosity of market-driven science and research. MLM innovation is applications and impact-driven, cost-conscious science and research. It is driven by sophisticated research capabilities, popular among policymakers in STI community. No, here innovative entrepreneurs faced with challenge of scarcity and aspiration, and business vying for markets in emerging economies. The market, well-established route from idea to product to market. No, new routes to not yet established markets. Margins, high R&D investment recouped by long-lasting premiums. No, high volume, low margin, high-tech products and services. For a big country like India, that becomes important. And the goals would be improving productivity and economic growth. No, sorry, improving lives of people, access, purchasing power, social harmony, and human dignity. I'm very happy that Dr. Shekhar Mande, our Honorable President, is listening to this. And I plead with him that let there be a discussion in Indian National Science Academy on this shift, to serve the nation. I want to just show you 2 examples to quote it. This is a baby warmer developed by whom? By Stanford students, not an Indian laboratory or not an Indian scientist, by Stanford students. This is a $25 incubator based on phase change materials being used so that the body temperature could be moved. The project began in Stanford's Entrepreneurial Design for Extreme Affordability. So in 2007, okay, can you just imagine, almost 2 decades ago, they recognized the importance of extreme affordability for poor women. If Stanford does it, should we not be doing it? And of course we are doing it. Look at the Anjani Mashilkar awardee, Gen Robotics. What did they do? They had empathy. They found that manual scavenging or manual cleaning is one of the worst professions. And in India, 4 to 5 manual scavengers die on the job every month, while most of them have a lifespan beyond 30 years. So they created Bandicoot, a robotic scavenger not only performs all tasks that human can inside the manhole, but also offer dignity of labor to the manual scavengers. This is now deployed in 4 countries and 20 plus states. You know who these young people are? This fellow, for example, Rashid, he is an undergraduate, 4th-year undergraduate in engineering from Kerala. They have their heart in the right place. They could have gone for industrial robots which make money, but they said, in fact, Rashid told me, man hole is a bad idea. Man should not be in the hole, the machine should be in the hole. But then you would ask, what happens to their family if the machines take over? They have taken care of that. What have they done? They have trained the manual scavenger to operate the robot. So when their children are going to school, when they were previously asked, what does your father do? They would have put their head down and said, he's a manual scavenger. Now they will put their head up and say, he's a robot operator. This is access to dignity through MLM. My final slide, I think MLA is not just a concept, it's an aspiration for a fair, just, equitable, and inclusive world, getting more from less for more. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for this brilliant lecture. We could get so many ideas, more ideas from less time lecture. Now, may I request Professor Sharma to say a few words?
I think this is a brilliant presentation, spanning just about every area, and again shows the prowess of ideas, dexterity, commitment, and what I would call some imagination. But I want to cap it by just a simple statement, Apna Har Jagannath. If you believe in yourself, you will succeed. When the Cray computer was denied, we did a wonderful job at much lower cost, more power. When many inputs to space program were denied, we came out with all the solutions indigenously. After the event for which National Technology Day is celebrated, many things were denied to India, and India came up with very viable solutions at much lower cost than it would have been with imported technology. I want to compliment Dr. Mashelkar for ushering in Anjali Mashelkar Award, because the kind of commitment he has for the people who put in their proposals is truly extraordinary. And how people belonging to even middle class but have the passion to come out with something new. The number of examples he has given are still limited. He has many more examples to Anjali Mashelkar awards. And I wish him great success in his endeavors through this foundation, and wish that he continues to champion more from less, less for more. He has done it very vigorously and very convincingly. And I finally once again want to compliment him for this extraordinary presentation, and that too on a National Technology Day. I'm humbled that this happens to be in my name. Thank you once again, Insa, Vijay, Ramesh Mashelkar, G.D. Yadav, and all who have participated today virtually. Thank you.
I now request Professor G.D. Yadav, sir, to please read the citation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Professor M.M. Sharma National Technology Day Lecture, awarded to Dr. Raghunath Anand Mashelkar, FNA. The citation reads as follows. Professor M.M. Sharma National Technology Day Lecture was established by the Academy in the year 2026, sponsored by Vijay Samant, to be given to a fellow of INSA for his or her outstanding contribution in science and technology. This lecture is being instituted in the honor of Professor M.M. Sharma in recognition of his monumental contributions to academic science, technology, research, innovation, and above all to the global chemical industry and science policy. The lecture is given annually on 11th May, marking National Technology Day. The inaugural lecture for the year 2026 has been given to Dr. R.A. Mashelkar, FNA, past President INSA and former Director General, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, New Delhi, for his distinguished contributions to chemical engineering, research management, national policy, and path-breaking scientific contributions in transport phenomena and in thermodynamics of swelling, superswelling, and shrinking polymers, modeling of polymerization reactors, and engineering analysis of non-Newtonian flows. It was through his sustained and visionary campaign that growing awareness of intellectual property rights was dawned on Indian academics, researchers, and corporates. He spearheaded the successful challenge to the US patent on the use of turmeric for wound healing and also the patent on basmati rice. Dr. Machelkar has also served as the chairman of National Innovation Foundation, president of Global Research Alliance, and vice chairman on Commission on IPR, Innovation and Public Health set up by WHO. He also served on global advisory boards of Microsoft, VTT Finland, Michelin France, National Research Foundation Singapore, and on the boards of directors of leading Indian corporates, including Reliance Industries, Tata Motors, Hindustan Unilever, Thermax, Pyramid Enterprise, and KPIT Technologies. His scientific eminence received the rarest of global recognition. Dr. Mashelkar has 240 research publications and has edited and authored 22 books in the field of polymer science, engineering, and allied areas, including policy. He has 28 patents to his credit. Dr. Mashelkar is elected Fellow of Indian Academy of Sciences, Bengaluru, Indian National Academy of Engineering, National Academy of Sciences, Allahabad, and the Royal Academy of Engineering, the Royal Society London, World Academy of Arts and Science, Foreign Fellow of US National Academy of Engineering, the Academy of Sciences for the Developing World, Foreign Associate of National Academy of Science, USA, Australian Technological Science and Engineering Academy, Associate Foreign Member of American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and corresponding member of the Australian Academy of Sciences and Fellow of National Academy of Inventors. He is also the recipient of number of awards and honors, which include S.S. Bhatnagar Prize, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru Technology Award, G.D. Birla Scientific Research Award, Vishwakarma Medal, Jawaharlal Nehru Birth Centenary Lecture, S.S. Bhatnagar Medal, and Etienne Old Ramanujan Lecture of INSA, Lifetime Achievement Award by the Indian Space Science Congress, Science Medal, Lenovo Science Prize of the TWAS, and Stars of Asia Award and Business Week, presented by former President George Bush Sr., becoming the first Asian scientist to be so honored. The President of India honored Dr. Mashelkar with Padma Shri in 1991, Padma Bhushan in 2000, and with Padma Bhushan 2014, three of the highest civilian honors. 53 universities have honored him with honorary doctorates, which is a national record in the field of engineering. His books, Leapfrogging to Pole Vaulting, Creating the Magic of Radical yet Sustainable Transformation, Exponential Improvement through Converging Parallels, and More from Less for More, Innovations Holy Grail, have become national bestsellers. Dr. Mashelkar, in short, is a global scientific statesman, a guardian of innovation justice, and a champion of inclusive technology, and a lifelong servant of science in the service of society. Dr. R.A. Mashelkar was elected to the fellowship of INSA in the year 1984, and subsequently he served on its council as a member in 86 to 88 and the president from 2005 to 7. Thank you.
Now I request Professor G.D. Yadav sir to please show the flag that we confer upon Professor R.A. Mashelkar sir.
Thank you very much.
We will give you in person.
Yeah, thank you.
There is a plaque for Professor Sharma and also Vijay Samant. We'll hand it over later.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. As we proceed to the conclusion of the program, I now invite Dr. Brajesh Pandey, sir, Executive Director, INSA, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Just good afternoon, Namaskar. It is my privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this momentous occasion of the National Technology Day Lecture 2026. I express sincere thanks to Professor M.M. Sharma sir for his gracious presence and valuable remark, and for being a guiding force behind this prestigious lecture series. At the outset, I extend our deepest gratitude to our esteemed speaker, Dr. R.A. Maselkar, for his truly enlightening and inspiring lecture on more from less for more innovations, Holy Grail. Sir, your visionary insight and lifelong contribution to science and innovation have left a great impression on all of us. My heartfelt appreciation goes to Professor Sekhar Simande, President INSA, for his opening address, ideation of National Technology Day lecture, initiative, and online presence throughout the session. I would like to place on record our heartfelt thanks to Professor G.D. Yadav, sir, Vice President, Resource Generation and Management, INSA, for his in-person presence, for providing the insightful background to the lecture, and for chairing this session with such an enthusiasm. I also extend our gratitude to Shri Vijay Samant sir for his support and association with this initiative. We are deeply thankful to all dignitaries, participants, and members of the scientific community who joined us today online. Your presence made this event truly meaningful. I would also like to acknowledge the dedicated effort of the organizing team, office staff from INSA, and also the team led by Dr. Anjan Ray for Policy Center and Policy Work. This whole team, I am really thankful for all of them and their whole help and support, so that we are able to release this policy document today, whose meticulously planning and seamless execution ensured the successful of this program. On this note, I once again thanks everyone for being a part of this celebration of innovation and knowledge. Thank you once again. Namaskar.
Ramesh, very well done, Ramesh. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a great case.
Remarkable presentation. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Vijay, for keeping up so late.
Yeah, all the best. Let me know when you're coming next.
My pleasure. Okay. And great presentation, Dr. Mashelkar. Hope to see you when I come to India next. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Call it a day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.